Okay, next step is I'm going to do some virgin flesh. Now, virgin flesh is very strong. It's almost like a white. Well, it's a semi-transparency one, but you can really mess up an item at this point if you do too much, because if you mist it all over, you just take it all down. So what I like to do is just kind of hit some areas. Get some of the boob area to kind of make it pop a little bit more. Cheekbones, forehead a little, chin. You don't want to go over crazy with this at this point. Now, if you don't notice, certain things you can't really do. There's a little bit of overspraying that goes into here. So usually it's kind of darkened there between the breasts, and then you know, you have it rounded. But because there's overspraying, it goes in there. But that's going to be fixed with some, you know, I can use some women's makeup and powder stuff on a paintbrush to kind of get into some harder areas that the airbrush just won't work. But right now we're just trying to get the main area done and stuff like this. Now, at this point too, the face is kind of looking a little bland, so we can kind of some transparency, pale flesh, bring out the cheek a little. Now I'm going to do some smoky eyes on her, not really crazy, because Power Girl doesn't have a lot of makeup on, but I kind of like to have mine a little pop a little bit more, just for fun. And I'm starting to get there a little bit more, popping out. Now, just by bringing out the cheeks a little bit compared to the factory paint up, you're changing the face a little bit more just with the paint, which is kind of fun. And if you go too crazy on it, you go back to your transparency garage kit, and you can kind of get it down a little bit. Then if you want to bring out the cheek a little bit more, go back to the virgin flesh. Okay, and then what I might do here, grab some of the P3 and go back into the... Now the good thing about it too is when you paint, at least when I paint, because I'm doing the skin, you can always hit the area over there just to make sure your paint's coming out. So we kind of... bring that out a little bit more. I want to take it down just a little bit on the breast area, so go back to transparency. You also have to be aware of the area you spray to and angle, because you can't always hit everything at the same angle. Okay, so I'm going to, looking straight on, we're looking good. Got to go a little bit more. Like I said, I don't have the formula for everything. It's just a matter of blending and hitting areas that you know need to be highlighted and others that might not. Now I know some people will just, you know, they want to do one solid color and one shade and kind of just run with it, but I like to blend. I like to keep going with different colors and bring stuff out that can be brought out. Now as far as the nose, let's see. It's usually on the side of the nose you kind of want to, at least what I do. Hit a little bit on stuff like that. Kind of brings out the nose a little bit more. And then underneath the nose, oops, see if you spray too much with the transparencies, you can overspray. So what you might want to do is hit it with a hair dryer. Kind of heat it up a little, and it there you go, got a little bit darker under there. And it's starting to look good, it's starting to come together now a little bit. Now I did a little too much to the boob, so we go back to some of the transparency pale flesh. Get some of that orange gradient back. Do a little bit more over here. Alright, so at this point now I think I'm ready to do some tester's dull coat. So I'm going to go set up in the garage and I'll show you guys exactly what I do. This is the step that you want to do outside. Wear a mask and make sure you don't get a lot of the fumes all over the place. Alright, we're in the garage and I'm going to do my tester's dull coat. Now with this tester's dull coat, it kind of melts the garage kit color kind of together, at least the flesh tones. Because they're kind of more like powdery almost compared to some of the other acrylics that are more like rubbery. But I will be using my Duplicolor clear coat to kind of give it a good seal at the end that kind of almost mimics the, you know, paint app of a factory paint. But for right now we want to blend it all together. So I'm going to put on my mask, I'm going to kick on the vacuum cleaner because this is kind of my little outside airbrush booth just to keep some of these fumes out of here. Now it's going to look like I'm going to be wetting the statue, and I kind of am. I suggest you don't do this for a lot of your paint apps and other paint brands. You have to experiment, you have to learn to see what's working and what's not. And this is kind of just what I do with my skin tones. Alright, so I just pulled her in from the garage. She's pretty much dried up. So now I'm going to start doing some more detailing work. But as you can kind of see, it may be a little hard, but with the tester's dull coat, it sort of blends it all together and kind of like sinks everything down. So some of this darkness came out around there a little bit, which I got to take down. Some areas down here just need to be lightened up and tweaked a little. Some more around in here. But other than that, she's starting to come together. It's just a matter of keep building and building and building. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with some darker areas a little bit in certain stuff. So I'm going to kind of get my brown. I'm going to kind of go in here, just kind of darken up some of these little areas like that. So I'm going to kind of do that off camera because I got to kind of get in closer with the statue. And then once I darken up some areas around the head and around the body and outfit and stuff, we'll come back and keep plugging away. Okay, I darkened up some areas, and right now I still want to work out the boob stuff a little bit because it's kind of... So I'm using the transparency flesh again. There's always some parts on the statue that are always a pain to get correct because of the curves or however it's kind of placed. Okay, so kind of took that down a little bit. Go back to the virgin flesh. Okay, it's looking better. Alright, let's see, as far as the face, looking pretty good. We're gonna, and you want to don't do some overspray, so you can kind of use your hand or break out some more areas a little bit. Alright, looking pretty good. Getting there. Go a little bit more version flesh around here. Bring out the booty a little bit more. Okay. Now, if I really want to, I'm going to grab some of the makeup. And I'll show you what I do with some of the women's makeup to kind of bring out a little bit more color. Okay, so I want to bring out some more color to her. So we have women's makeup, some blush. You can just use a paintbrush, kind of go on your hand a little bit, take it off, and then we can use a little bit of a little blush to kind of bring out the cheeks a little bit. Go underneath the eye a little bit there, just to give it a little bit more color, and especially kind of bring out the breasts a little bit more. Alright, that looks good. We still got to do the eyes. And then there is also some women's makeup, some darker brown stuff. The reason why I use this stuff is I like it better than actually doing chalk, because chalk you got to kind of grind up and you got to use a powder, and it's never really fine. At least with this stuff it's pretty fine. So you can use a thin brush and you can kind of work out a nice little darker line that you just can't get with your your airbrush. And give a nice little bit line there, and then you can go back to the blush, bring that out a little. Alright, we still got to seal it up. So what I'll probably do next is I'm going to set up to do some of the eyeshadow. It's going to be very, very light eyeshadow, just a little bit of a smoke to give into her, and that'll be about it. Alright, I'm going to try to do this on camera a little bit, but this is my HPB Plus Iwata, and I usually like to use this for when I do any kind of like eyeshadow work. So I got Transparency Payne's Gray. You can kind of see I'm kind of just making sure I'm getting a nice decent line. I've learned that if you do a really low pressure, this stuff comes out very blobby, and I don't like it, so I usually keep it at a decent pressure. So it just kind of gonna just darken it up a little. Just giving her some smoky eyes, nothing super serious. That's about all. Not going too crazy with it. Yeah. And we're going to hit this next with some more Tester's Dull Coat, and then I'm going to see if I need to do anything else. Alright, so I just pulled her out of the garage again and did another coat of Tester's Dull Coat, and at this point I need to kind of stop doing what I'm doing, because I don't know if you guys have ever done it before, but it's one of the good things from another professor I learned in art school was that if you're working on an item and you work on it for so many hours or a day and you're not seeing something, put it into a closet, put it into a shelf, turn it around against the wall, whatever, and come back a day or two later with fresh eyes, and then look at the item and say, oh man, this is what I should do, that's what I should fix. You know, because at this point what I could do is I could take the white bottle and put it next to the skin tone. It's kind of like it's looking what I want. You know, I could put the blue and the white just to kind of see what's going on. And then, you know, you can grab a little bit of a yellow to kind of see what the hair would look like. So I'm happy with where it's at right now. I know I probably need to do some touch-ups here and there, but I'm going to put her in my cabinet and I'm going to come back in a day or two. But I have to kind of get onto some other projects anyway today because it's like a skin tone day. And the next step will be, once I pretty much get it all situated, I am going to seal it with this car paint. Now, this car paint works out pretty good. It seals it very well. And then I can dull it down with some of Garage Kit's Dull Coat. and it kind of gives it that factory look almost, you know, like you get from a factory, just to be more detailed. So gonna put her on the shelf, come back in a day or two, and we'll see where we're at. Alright, it's been a few days, and I looked her over, and everything is looking pretty good. I did see a little bit of an error in the inside of the leg. There was a chunk of paint, kind of sanded it down a little bit, and then I touched it up. But at this point now, I'm almost ready to clear coat. Before I do my clear coat, and then when I explain all that, I'm actually working on the head now. So I'm going to go over to the head and show you what I'm doing that. And then we'll get ready to go into the garage and clear up. Alright, so what I'm doing right here is I'm just kind of working out some details in the face a little bit. I'm not going to go too crazy with the details yet. I'm just getting it kind of ready for when I do my clear coat. So I used to like to do eyes first and then all the skin tone, but for some odd reason it just seems easier when you have the smaller eye sockets to do the eyes at the end of the project, at least when all the skin's done, and then go on to painting the character, or even saving the eyes till very last. If I have a bigger eye socket and the statue's bigger, then I'll probably do the eyes first. But since her eyes are very, very small, even for a 1/4 scale, I'm going to do it later. So what I did right now is I have this little thing of women's makeup, and I have this little piece here. And I just darkened up the eye socket a little bit because it's kind of hard to get in there with an airbrush. So I wanted to get that very corner of the eyelid to the eye socket. So I just kind of take this on this tool. You get these off eBay, you know, regular makeup stuff. And then what I do is I kind of take it down on my finger. You could take it down on there, and then you could do a little bit and stuff and go. Once that's done, I've been messing around with this Wicked Eye Color white from Createx, because I've been trying a lot of different whites lately, and some reason this white's kind of working out pretty good for what I do. So I just do the eye sockets like that. And then in the, you know, the little corners of your eyes, I use this Gamer, which is a rosy flesh. So I just put a little dot in there. So as of right now, I'm just getting ready to go. What I'm probably going to do next is I'll probably get the flesh wash from P3 and do the inside of the nostrils a little bit, just to darken those up. And then just kind of look her all over, make sure everything's looking good, get everything set up. And then I'm going to go in the garage and we'll do the clear coat, and I'll explain all that. Alright guys, we're going to move on to the next step. I'm actually going to do the next step in a couple days because the weather's been crazy. It was 60 degrees the other day, beautiful. I got a lot of work done, and now it's like 20 and it's been snowing. I don't know what's going on. But right now I want to do a dull coat. Well, not a dull coat, a more of a protecting coat on my flesh tone, because Garage Cape Colors flashes are phenomenal. I use them for everything, but the problem is that they're not durable paints. You know, like Golden or Liquitex or Createx and Itamia, they're a little bit more durable acrylics, even though you could still kind of mess those up too. And they're nothing, these paints, any of these paints though, are nothing like you get at Chinese factory pre-paint statues. Like this Power Girl, like from Sideshow and China factory. When I go to strip her in the paint, you know, in acetone, this paint kind of like just floats around. It doesn't really dissipate like any of these other brands, like enamels, lacquers, or acrylics. And it's got to have lead in it. So I want to make sure my skin tones are protected for a couple of reasons. One is when I'm ready to start doing the blue on the boots, I use my paintbrush and I do a blue line going around there. So when I make my silly putty masking, I have room for error on there without trying to get it completely imperfect. Now, the Garage Kit colors are like, I guess you call it porous. It kind of soaks in like, you know, paint, color, dye, and like, you know, the Testor's dull coat very, very easily. So if I'm over here doing my blue line and I mess up and I do a line or I hit this area, that blue is going to soak into that paint so fast that even just wiping off my finger, I'm never going to get it off in time, and there always will be a blue mark there. So I would have to kind of sand it down a little bit and hit it with skin again. So what I discovered was if I could take this Duplicolor Clear, I can spray her down once, and this paint actually starts to soak in the Duplicolor Clear to the point where it's not as shiny, but it's not dull like it is now. Then what I like to do is let it dry a little bit, and then I do another clear coat, but I try to do it not too crazy where this skin is just completely shiny and it looks like, you know, she's got a gloss skin. So if I get to that point where I accidentally do that, I use my Garage Kit Colors flat top coat and I dull it down a little bit. And then after a while, you know, while handling the statue and painting all the other stuff, the skin doesn't look as glossy and it kind of gets toned down and it works out. So the reason why this Duplicolor is really good on this too is if I'm doing my blue line and I did my clear coat and I hit it, I can wipe it off real quick and I really don't get a stain or anything. And I've even had times where I've done enough clear coat where I was able to wipe off the mark and also hit it with a little sandpaper real quick, and then you kind of take off the little mark and you actually, you know, I'm good to go. You know, and also if I did a little bleeding in here and there's too much paint, I could kind of wipe it away, and with that clear coat gives me that like security. So that's why I do the Duplicolor on my skins. And also, by doing the Duplicolor a little bit on the skin tone, it almost makes it look like a factory paint up again, but just more detailed. So it's almost like I'm mimicking the factory paint, but I'm giving it more detail in my way. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So I know it sounds weird, and you might be like, well, you're going through all this work and stuff, but I just love Garage Kit colors, and I like the way everything blends together compared to a lot of other brands that might be more durable. But this process is a little extra step, and it makes my life easier though, because I get the way I want it to look. I get all my colors of skins in there, plus I make a very durable skin tone. So it works out pretty good. So probably in a day or two, maybe when we get some nicer weather, we'll go out to the garage and I'll do my coats on her and I'll show you how everything works out and go from there. But one thing that I did notice, and I'll kind of get a little bit closer, one of the good reasons to with the Duplicolor, and you can actually, like, you know, in certain areas you can spray a little thicker. Over here, when I put it in the neck, it's getting some marks with this over here. So what I might do is two things. One, I might hit this with some more skin and kind of clean this up a little, but I also might get some sandpaper and clean up in here. So this way, when I'm ready to clear coat this, I can clear it a little bit thicker under here, so this way when it goes in, it's not scraping all the paint as much. But this is just one of those things that you got to kind of deal with when you use these acrylic paints. If you have removable parts, you're going to get scrapes in there. You can't make it like factory paints where they're so durable it's got lead in it. So that's pretty much what's the next step. So we're gonna hopefully get a nice day out soon, and we can get in there, clear coat this, so we can start finishing her up.